As promised, in the shadows of the London Rugby League launch, the CEO of the RFL, Tony Sutton, I took a photo up there of you and Brian Carney together and sent it to Shane Richardson. He'll take credit for both of you.
What, because I didn't give Richo a name check when I talked to our administrators of the game? Yeah, I thought that the thought did cross my mind, Steve. The thought did cross my mind.
When you get back to Manchester, maybe people haven't read anything about this, and I'll say, what happened down there? How will you sum it up for them?
I'd sum it up as a really wonderful room of people that were here for the same reason, and that's rugby league in the capital city. And I've been really enthused by talking to people, just seeing who was in the room. I think sometimes we can downplay the depth of the rugby league community in London a little bit, and I think this is a fantastic reminder that actually there's a lot of people interested in our game doing well here.
There's clearly an attempt to draw attention to what Gary's doing, Gary's involvement, to try to create some excitement and get more people on board. And was that the main message today, that they're looking to get people on board? There wasn't like any kind of, X, Y and Z is definitely happening, was there? It was more about drawing attention to the project.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think Gary highlighted the fact of how he sees his role, a bit of a figurehead for it, a bit of a focal point to pull around, but also a lot of coordination, a lot of orchestration of his strategic plan. Obviously, we want to play a part in that. And some of the points I was making were things like the events that we bring to the capital city, the Men's Ashes series, obviously the opener at the end of the year in October. But equally, we bring the Challenge Cup Finals Day here every year, where we have 4 wonderful games that highlight the sport, let alone the community clubs that are doing such great work as the Bedrock and the broad base of the pyramid, and what all those volunteers do. So I think you're exactly right. I think Gary highlighted his role about coordination.
He talked about being in Super League next year. Is that even possible?
Look, I love a part of a plan that's got a lot of aspiration in it. I think the beauty for me of the grading system, it's about the delivery of higher levels of investment, but sustained and consistent investment, and the ability for that to make clubs better across a wide range of criteria. So if that's in Gary's plan, then you can no doubt be sure that he'll give that a lot of focus. But I know a lot of clubs are looking at how to improve their scores, and as a result of significant and consistent investment into the areas that grading highlights.
How many teams are in Super League next year?
I always am a big believer in the way you kick off the season. Sorry, you should know what the end of the season looks like when you kick off the season. And when we kicked off the season, the aim was to have 12. So I think that's what will be in Super League next year.
There'll be 12 in Super League next year, and Salford won't be one of them, will they?
Well, I think that's to be seen, Steve. I think that's to be seen. That the issues at the club are well highlighted and well talked about. And I think we look to that ownership group to make sure that club is well looked after and stable going forward.
The other thing I want to ask you is it right that there is because it wasn't kind of clear today, is there funding for the south of England? Has it been restored? There seemed to be there's everything's going to come under one umbrella, and is that what's happening from an RFL point of view down here?
So the RFL invests some funding, some of the funding that we see from Sport England, and some of the funding that we generate ourselves into rugby league development plans across the country, and one of those is across London and the South East. So it's always been there. It's fluctuated in its level, and we invest in staff down here. Steve Gwan, for example, who's been down here for a long time, coordinating community and professional and amateur activity. So we look to maintain those levels of investment. Of course, one of our aspirations is to be able to increase those levels of investment, but those rugby league development plans, in conjunction with regions and local authorities and community and professional clubs, are in place across a wide range of regions in the country.
Could the current club-led review of the game have a positive or negative impact on what was announced here today, or move the goalposts on what was announced here today?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of topics being discussed at the club-led review, which I think is right. And we wait to see the ones that really come forward and over what time scale. So I think it's a bit difficult to assess the impact of those. I think obviously the aim of a strategic review, of any strategic review, is positive outcomes, and therefore I think you would look for those to be positive outcomes on the type of thing that we've discussed here this morning, but we wait to see what comes through that club-led review.
Two more things. How have the fortunes or prospects of the French clubs altered over the course of the last 2 months, from the point of view that there was opposition or there was pessimism about them, to the point of view now where maybe that seems from the outside to have subsided a little bit? Is that a fair reading of the situation?
You mean through the Club Red Review?
Yes.
I think, as I said in the last answer, I think we wait for the outcomes of the Club Red Review. I'm not sure about the fluctuating opinion that you mentioned. I think we'll wait to see what the outcomes of that Club Red Review, and I think one of the aims of that review was that those outcomes go to RFL Council for discussion and ultimately potentially for vote. So it'll be what the game decides to do with the outcomes of that strategic review.
One last question, the chairmanship. What's the story? There isn't one at the moment. There's an executive, what's the position? Executive director, not a chairman. So can you just explain to everybody where that sits at the moment and where it's going?
Yeah, so the milestone was always that we would go to RFL Council on the 15th of July when the game gets to vote on certain issues, as it always has done. That's the next milestone in our journey on governance. And therefore what comes in then will lead us into the next phase for the game and the RFL board and the governance arrangements.
Enjoy your trip home, Tony. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you very much, no problem.